you're seeing this video, it's meant for you. And today's message is about doing it anyway. What are you afraid of? I I'm someone that has been an introvert all my life. What I mean by introvert is I've been quiet. I kind of keep to myself. I have a small circle of friends and small circle of family members. And I'm the one that has just been the observer over the years. I did my stint in corporate world and worked in those areas as a manager and as just a worker. Just I would be a hard worker and just be quiet. I was the quiet person. I really didn't speak up in meetings or anything unless I needed to. When I spotted something that could be improved or, made a change, I would say something to whoever on the side. But just for the most part, I've been quiet. I've been that introvert. I started Salyana Essentials 4 years ago. And it's been this year, 2024, that I made it a point to challenge myself to share about my business because up until that point, it had just been word of mouth. And it literally was friends and family that I encountered along the way, I would share. And if they were receptive to listening, then I would share. If they weren't receptive, then I didn't really think anything else about it. But in wanting to fully transition, get away from working for someone else and working full time for myself, that meant that I needed to put myself out there. I needed to share about my business. It's not just one thing to have a website when nobody knows your website exists or they have no clue about what you do. So, putting myself out there, and I am noticing there are a lot of times where I'll sign up to go to an event, and it could be something as simple as like a networking event, and I'll sign up for it. I can sign up for it every day, but to actually get in my car and drive and get out the car and go in there and actually sit down at the table, it's been a challenge for me. I'm finding myself that it's getting a little bit easier to do it anyway. And that's just it. The way that I'm able to do it is I just do it anyway. I do it afraid. I do it even with the self talk, negative self talk in my ear about nobody wants to hear it or, any of that, any of the fears. I do it anyway. There are instances of where I'm fortunate enough to have like my daughter that will go with me on occasion, but a lot of times she's not able to. And, she has her own life. So I find myself just doing it anyway. So without talking around in circles, my whole point is that we're in the season of where we have stories to tell, we have experiences, we have things that we are called to share. Today, I lost my grandmother, my best friend, one of my best friends. Oh my gosh. And my grandmother she had been suffering for a while. Before the suffering, I just remember in them early years, my grandmother, she was a second mama because I was with her a lot of times. And when my mom had to work, my grandma has always been there as that the staple in the family and the listening ear and the laugh. My conversations with my grandma, we would laugh so much every time. I don't care what when we talk to each other, it could be a week, it could be a day, it could be a month sometimes. When we got on that phone and we talked to each other, we will always wind up kikiing and laughing and having big Kool-Aid smiles. And it can be just over the simplest things. And that's something that I will miss with my grandmother, miss having those times with her. But I go back to my whole point in my story, and that is we're only promised a little bit of time, and in the bigger scheme of things, my grandmother was 89. I got to spend 50 years of my life with my grandmother, when there are plenty of people out there that don't get to know theirs at all, let alone know their parents. And I have been fortunate enough to know my grandmother and be a part of 5 generations. My point and where I'm getting at is doing it anyway. Doing it anyway. Even in that fear, still doing it anyway. Even in them times of doubt, even in the times of chaos, doing it anyway. If it's on your heart and it's something that you are called to do, you feel passionate about, you just don't know how to do it, do it anyway. Try.